Hey everybody, and welcome to the Pop Culture News here on The Experience. Today we're going to cover some of the things. Not a lot of news today. It's been a quiet weekend, but we do have some good stories. Now, this did happen. Last night, special effects award went to Godzilla -1, and that was the Academy Award or the Oscar for special visual effects. Now, this was a unique category because not only did it have Godzilla -1 and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, but it also had Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, The Creator, and Napoleon. And the reason those last three are very unique is the fact that the special effects supervisor for all three of those movies were the same guy, Neil Corbould. Now, so basically Neil was competing against himself twice in that one category. Now, we've seen many times where two actors from the same movie kind of cancel each other out and someone else ends up winning, even though, people think, oh, he was great, because it splits the vote. Well, I was wondering if that would be the case here, that Neil would lose out. And there was a lot of people who didn't think that Godzilla -1 would win because they're really good special effects, but it's on a lower budget. Where something like Guardians of the Galaxy was a much higher budget, or Mission Impossible. So I think that was at work here because those three movies probably pulled different things. Or they went, oh, well, Neil did this. Which one do I want to do? So I thought that was pretty interesting that Godzilla -1 did win. Also interesting, if you're not familiar with Neil Corbould, visual effects is in his blood. His uncle worked, Colin Chilvers, worked on quite a few movies, including the 1978 film Superman, and won an Oscar for his work on that film. And Neil was actually on the set and got to see what his uncle did. So that's how he moved up and did these other, he got into the industry. So just a neat little story there. But yeah, he did not take home an Oscar last night, even though he was nominated for 3 movies in 1 year. So, all right, switching over. In a recent interview with Vanity Fair, legendary actor Christopher Walken confirmed that he had indeed auditioned for the original Star Wars movie back in the 1970s. Walken, who now seems like someone who could easily play the Emperor or Darth Vader, was one of many actors trying out for the role of the rogue Han Solo. He said in the interview, yes, I auditioned for it, and if I'm not mistaken, my partner in the audition was, I think this is true, it was Jodie Foster, who was reading for Princess Leia. I think we did a screen test. I'm not sure we did a scene. Maybe we just sat in front of, in those days, the old video cameras. I did audition for Star Wars, but so did about 500 other actors. It was a lot of people doing that. Now, it's been long believed that Walken was one of the actors who auditioned for the role, and it's known that George Lucas actually he kind of grouped actors together. So he was looking at them as a team at that point. Christopher Walken was teamed up with 2 people. Harrison Ford, of course, was teamed up with Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher. And it had gotten down to 2 groups. And he ended up going with the Ford, Fisher, and Hamill group. So I've always wondered who was with Walken in his group. And it turns out it could be Jodie Foster. Which, Dan, that would have been a very different movie, wouldn't it? I mean, Christopher Walken in the 70s, good actor. I mean, you look young, you look handsome, probably could have pulled the role off, but I think it would have a different feel, just like I think Jodie Foster would have a different feel as Princess Leia. And I couldn't imagine who, was going to be Luke Skywalker, maybe Robbie Benson. So, all right, moving on. In a recent interview on the Joe Rogan Experience, writer-director Zack Snyder was defending his choice to have Batman kill in his movies. when the character has historically refrained from killing in all forms of media, starting shortly after he was created. If you look at the early Batman books, he didn't have that rule. I remember a scene in one of the early Batman books where he's in a plane and he's firing a machine gun at the bad guys. Now, the early days of the characters, when he was created by Bob Kane and Bill Finger, he would use guns, and it was pretty obvious that the bullets he was firing didn't just tickle the bad guys. But it soon became canon that because of the death of his parents at the hands of the street thug Joe Chill, that Batman wouldn't use guns and didn't kill. Now, Snyder thinks that was a wrong choice. He told Rogan, people are always like, Batman can't kill, so Batman can't kill in canon. And I'm like, okay, well, the first thing I want to do when you say that is I want to see it happen. And then they go, well, don't put him in that situation where he has to kill someone. I'm like, well, that's just like you're protecting your God in a weird way, right? You're making your God irrelevant. So you see a lot of headlines right now saying that Batman not killing makes him irrelevant. That's the sentence that got him there. Now, having characters like Superman, Batman kill is one of the things that made Snyder's version of the characters so divisive among many fans. Something that he recognizes, saying that he tends to get in trouble with comic book fans because I do take a deconstructivist point of view because I care. I want to take superheroes apart. Now, this seems kind of obvious when you look at the comics Snyder points out as his inspirations or the ones he wants to adapt. There are books like Watchmen, Dark Knight Rises. He seems very enamored with the works of Alan Moore and Frank Miller, two creators known for deconstructing heroes. So, all right. Moving on, Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton's in the news, but he said he's seen a cut of the upcoming Beetlejuice, and thinks the visuals are beautiful and the story is emotional. The actor, who is reprising his role of the titular character after 36 years, said in a recent interview on the Jess Cagle show, it's just so fun, and I've seen it now. I'm going to see it again after a couple little tweaks in the editing room, and I confidently say this thing is great. Now, he went on to say that the film is beautiful physically, that the other one was so fun and exciting visually. It's also that, but really beautiful and interestingly emotional in there. I wasn't ready for that. It's great. Now, Keaton went back and rewatched the original 88 film to get back into character, saying, I probably only really seen it from the beginning once or twice, so I hadn't seen it in a long, long time, so I did go back and look at it again. Beetlejuice is scheduled to open in theaters on September 6th of this year. All right, a little bit of politics here. We try to stay away from it, but to no one's surprise, the cold open for this week's Saturday Night Live was a spoof on the Republican rebuttal to the State of the Union address. Shortly after the widely mocked speech was given by the junior senator from Alabama, Katie Britt, people online were speculating that it would be the subject of the opening for the long-running comedy sketch series. What people didn't realize was who they would get to play Britt. While in the past it was common for various big-name celebrities to play the political figures, such as Alec Baldwin as Donald Trump, Robert De Niro came in to play Robert Mueller, stuff like that. But for the last few years, they had kind of toned that down. We're just using inside cast to do the roles. But last night, they brought in the Black Widow herself, Scarlett Johansson. Now, her appearance makes a lot of sense, as she is kind of tied to the show, being that she's married to cast member Colin Jost. But also, the host of the evening was Josh Brolin, whom she's appeared in multiple movies with, including the Avenger films and the movie Hail Caesar from 2016. Now, while Britt's performance on television was panned by both sides of the politics, Johansson's performance as Britt is being well received. She actually really, really nailed it. So, all right. In response to a question on social media, James Gunn has said that he has written all the episodes of the upcoming Peacemaker Season 2, and that it will begin filming concurrently with the new Superman movie. Now, this also means that Gunn will not be able to direct all the episodes of Peacemaker as he did in the first season, but says he will direct some. Now, that's just part of the interesting things he said. Also, he let it be known that the Waller series is still in the works, but Peacemaker is actually moving up in front of it. And that the first season of Peacemaker is not going to be considered completely canon. According to Gunn, the first season was part of the DCEU, while the second will be part of the DCU. Yeah, that's not confusing at all, is it? Specifically, he says that some of the events from the series happened in the DCU as well, but not all of them. He said there are a few things outside the lines, so I can't say it's pure canon. So it feels to me like DC is making this as complicated as possible. And I'm not sure why, but it's what they're doing. So, all right. My last story is one of my favorites. Did you guys watch the Oscars last night? There were some really interesting moments, but my favorite is when the stars of Twins, Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger, were reunited to present an award. But when they got out there, instead of talking about the movie Twins, DeVito said the reason they were paired up because both of them had played villains in Batman movies, which is 100% true. And then they went on to discuss how Batman had defeated them. Arnold saying that Batman used his biggest weakness against him, love. And Danny DeVito went, yeah, he threw me out a window. and a chance to use the word defenestrate was missed there. But as they were going back and forth, Danny DeVito looks out in the crowd, sees Michael Keaton sitting in the audience, and goes, and there he is, right there. And they pan over to Michael Keaton, who is stoic, totally in character, which I thought was amazing. And they went on talking about, how dare you, what, you've got some nerve showing up like this. And he sits in the audience looking very grim and just goes, like he's ready to fight. And it was an absolute great moment. Now, I know Schwarzenegger actually went up against George Clooney's Batman. But in this case, I thought it was really well done. And had they panned the crowd to try to find Clooney, it would have been a little strange. Now, this was one of the better moments of the night, along with the John Cena presentation. And if you didn't, you should look this one up as well. John Cena walks out what appears to be fully nude. He's not. We've seen behind-the-scenes shots where he's got one of those little privacy things on. But mostly naked, with the envelope over his Peacemaker, and walked out to give the award for costume designer. And then it was Jimmy Kimmel who ran out and saved the day, getting him an outfit that looked like something out of the Carol Burnett show. And yeah, I'm old enough to remember that reference, but I hope you guys catch it. So, all right, guys, that is the news for this week. Cut you up. I will be back on Thursday with more news and whatever topic it comes up. I may talk about why Batman should or shouldn't kill. That seems like a good topic, but we'll see about that, work it out. Stick around, though, for the rest of the day. We've got Minute to Skim It, where Kyle, Miss Jen, and Jay go through this week's newest books. Then there's Mint Hunter and Kicking It with Henri on, you guys know that Henri's on Tuesday nights now, right? Late night. So you'll want to be here for all of that. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you Thursday.